Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, calling this Jeremy Price at Assembly Hall. They're cleaning up in the back. IU rolls, basically 72-49. Another case, I think, obviously you kind of see that this Penn State team does not have necessarily the firepower to hang with this with Indiana with a team at that caliber. But I think in some ways there were some breakthrough performances tonight. I think that Indiana will just sort of hope continues. Great shooting nights from Victor Oladipo, Yogi Ferrell, and Will Sheehy. Those guys were a combined, let me see here, 8 for I think 10 from beyond the three-point arc. Those aren't the guys you usually rely on for those, and this I think is big for them in a bunch of ways. And I don't know how long they can continue this. I don't know if this is something that you're going to see all the time, but at the very least, it shows I think other teams that it's a threat, and obviously it was really huge to them huge for them tonight on a night that Penn State did everything it possibly could to take away Cody Zeller and did a good job of defending the guys they thought they were going to have to defend, but it didn't matter because those three guys were shooting it so well.
Yeah, I think that the big part of that was Will and Yogi shooting the ball well. I mean, at this point, Oladipo's shooting over 50% for the season on three-pointers.
Which is incredible, honestly, for him, considering how far he's come.
Yeah, but I guess at this point, he is what his numbers say he is. So I guess
on some level, yeah, he's 12 for his last 14, going back to December 15th. Obviously, he's not taking dumb shots. He's not forcing it. He's not acting like he suddenly became Jordan Hulls overnight. But he knows when he has them, and he's confident all of a sudden. And I don't think he ever really had bad form. Maybe his freshman year a little bit. But really, since his sophomore year, he's been able to hit that shot. It just seemed like there was a little bit of lack of confidence, especially toward the end of last year. But he's drilling it right now. I mean, he's not forcing it. He's not thinking he can take one that's contested or, that he can just pull up over somebody. But he's hitting it when he gets those open looks.
Well, if you'll allow me to play amateur shot doctor for a moment, I was looking at
Absolutely, you can.
I was looking at his shot tonight, and I was trying to figure out what's really different from what he was doing in the past. And the biggest thing I see is that Victor's taken a little bit of the jump out of his jump shot.
He is, that's true too. And that's probably a good idea because he almost has too much.
A lot of times for a guy like that, it's that simple. Just taking a little of that athletic effort, jumping out of the shot makes the motion simpler, makes the shot release quicker, and just more consistent overall. And that seems to be, to me, the biggest thing that's working for Victor this season.
Did you see something similar in Yogi? I guess in some level it seemed to me like, he was playing so incredibly fast early. At the early part of the season when they were running up and down and up and down and up and down, and he could obviously keep the pace, but then having to slow it down and pull up and hit a shot looked like it was pretty difficult. It seems like now he's got that back together. Are you saying the same thing I am?
Yeah, I think the thing for Yogi is two things. One, he was going too fast early, like you said, and two, he's getting under his shot now. Most of his shots early in the year were very flat, not a lot of arc on the shot. Tonight, especially the one in the corner here to start the second half, that one really had nice arc on it, nice rotation, really a good-looking jump shot. So I think that's the biggest difference. And, I think the next step for Yogi is to consistently do that and to build some confidence. I mean, not that he's a young man lacking in confidence in any way.
No, Yogi does not.
But I think you start to hit a few of those shots consistently, you start to develop a little more confidence in that jumper, and then it's just a matter of taking good shots and not forcing bad shots up.
I think for him, he really had to kind of start with the mid-range and work out of it, because I think he always felt good about hitting mid-range jumpers. At Park Tudor, he was... I think over the last, I just did it since December 15th, I think he's shooting about 44% from the field and about 38% from beyond the arc. That's where I saw him at Park Tudor. That's what I kind of expected him to be. Early on, he just couldn't get anything to hit, but it seemed like when he got that mid-range, that pull-up to start going down, it seemed like it made a huge difference for him. And then he thought maybe I can hit a three every once in a while when it's there when they're giving it to me. But that play you mentioned, I thought was one of the more fascinating ones in the sense that it really kind of told Penn State what they were sort of in for, because you had Yogi Ferrell, the point guard, the guy who drives the lane and kicks out, sitting in the left corner waiting for a three. And he got it because Victor Oladipo just drove into the middle, drew the zone in, kicked it out, Ferrell nailed it. And it was like, that's not what's supposed to happen. That's not what's supposed to beat us tonight. And it did, basically. And they just basically just flipped it up a little bit, put Oladipo at the top of, right up here, take the inbound, drive right in the middle, kick right out to Ferrell, and it was there, and it worked. And at that point, I think Penn State kind of knew, if they didn't know already, these guys are going to beat us with everybody tonight. They're not going to beat us with who we thought they would.
Yeah, and that whole opening sequence, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever
105,
it took.
An 8-0 run in 105. Three stops, 2 threes, and a layup.
Yeah, I thought that whole opening sequence was really key. Especially for an Indiana team that, as we know, last few games, second half hasn't been a real great thing. And against Wisconsin, it was kind of similar. Oladipo, I think, had the three-point play to start the second
Mm-hmm.
half against Wisconsin, and it was kind of all downhill from there. This time they were actually able to put together a sustained run,
Yeah.
build that lead over 20 points, and really kind of send a message that the game was over and that there wasn't
Yeah.
going to be any messing around this time.
Right. I mean, it's a little bit different, obviously, because Penn State just doesn't have the firepower. I mean, and there are other teams are going to find a third option to beat you. Tonight, DJ Newble has 18 points, also had 8 turnovers. 8 turnovers. And Jermaine Marshall had 12, and that's 30 of their 49 points, basically.
Yeah.
Nobody else was in double figures. Ross Travis had 9 off the bench, and that was it. Basically, they just didn't have the firepower. Now, Indiana, we have to point out, defended really, really well. I mean, they executed the game plan the way they wanted to. They made it hard for Newble. He was 7 for 17. It's not a bad night, but he had to take a lot of shots, and most of the ones he was able to get easily. He got a couple steals and dunks that made his field goal percentage a little bit better. He just wasn't defended. He just picked a couple off. But they just kept them from doing anything they wanted to do. Penn State shoots 33.3% from the field, 2 for 15 from 3. And they have defended pretty well. I mean, I don't think you've seen them go against a lot of really high-powered teams, but they are executing the game plan well and keeping them from doing the things they want to do.
Yeah, I think so. And you can put the disclaimer that the last 2 games have been Northwestern and Penn State, but
Yeah.
3 of the last 4 halves, the second half against Northwestern being the exception there, the Indiana defense has been outstanding. I mean, only gave up 17 points that first half at Northwestern, 19
Right.
in the first half tonight, 51 for the game, or 49 for the game, sorry. The defense is making strides, I think, and part of that is understanding scouting reports and following instructions, and part of it is kind of learning from your mistakes,
Right.
which I thought was another big thing for Yogi tonight. I mean, the second half at Northwestern was not one of his better halves.
No,
of
well,
the
he barely
season,
played any of it,
and he barely
honestly.
played because of it. I mean,
Yeah.
he got caught going under screens and leaving people wide open for
And had the
threes.
bad steal, bad turnover in
Yeah,
the 1-3-1.
some bad decisions, but especially on the defensive end. I thought his defense tonight against Newble was outstanding
Yeah.
once again, and made him work for everything that he got.
Yeah.
He was doing a good job fighting over screens and really not giving him a lot of room to operate.
Yeah, and he very much the first game and the second game, and that if you can put Farrell on, if in this particular matchup, the way these two teams match up, if you get a good defense performance from Farrell, it makes everything else easier. Because if you don't have to put Oladipo on him, if you can let him take their 3 guy, the only advantage, if they have any, is sort of a size advantage on the perimeter. Newble's 6'4", Marshall's 6'4", and then you go, Travis didn't start tonight, Colella did. I wasn't sure why exactly that was. But Travis is 6'6" and can rebound it really well, and you don't want to put somebody like Jordy Halls on Ross Travis. But if you can get Farrell to defend Newble, then everything else makes sense. Then you have an advantage just about everywhere else. And he, in both cases, did a really good job of reading him and realizing that he's not very strong with his left, that if you just attack his right hand and force him to go left, that he's not going to be able to do anything when he does. And you just harass that right hand. And he did that really, really well. Obviously, Newble got a few more buckets than he had in the last game, but he was more or less all over him, and that just let everybody else do what they wanted to do.
And I think the curious thing for me is spinning forward. Can Yogi repeat this kind of performance against a guy like
Keith
Chris
Appling.
Appling?
Keith
Appling,
Appling,
excuse me, of Michigan State on Sunday.
This is exactly what you want to know, because it's a fascinating matchup. It's probably the most interesting matchup they've had so far. Those 3 guys, you go, Appling, Harris, Dawson. That's tough between Vic, Yogi, and Halls. I mean, because you can't really use one of those guys in the big guys. Between Nix and Payne, those aren't 2 guys you want to mess around with. I don't think you can put Halls on Dawson or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. I'm very interested to see how they handle this, because obviously those are 3 really, really talented players, really, really explosive guys. It'll be interesting to see how they go. But we got to point out, I think, also, Will Sheehy, big night tonight too. Big night. He broke out. He had 12 points, 3 for 3 from 3, and talked to us at the press conference. He was great, actually. He did point out at one point that he had like 7 in a row, and he wasn't sure what to make of it. But he was good. I think the threes he hit, I think, really got it going too. He pulled up and hit one, had another one where he pretty much got knocked down. I don't understand how he didn't get a foul on that, but that, I think, really opened it up the rest of the way. Penn State really was doing a good job of jamming everybody up. Cody Zeller only had 2 points tonight, and that's more, I think, Penn State than anything. Cody didn't play well, and he struggled, and once he realized how hard it was going to be, it seemed like it got rougher on him. He had 4 turnovers, and that was rough. Did have 3 blocks, but I think it was more on Penn State just deciding that Zeller wasn't going to beat him and somebody else was going to have to. But he started it. Farrell continued it. Oladipo as well. that I guess really sort of complete team performance, getting all that scoring from all those guys is sure the reason why they moved to 17-2 tonight.
Yeah, I thought the bench play was big tonight, and
Bench play was big.
not just for the fact that Sheehy gave him a spark offensively, although that's what you expect him to do. But a lot of other guys got minutes, and guys are going to have to play minutes going forward, especially this next 4 or 5 game stretch.
Creek came back, looked okay.
You're going to need Creek to play some minutes. Hopefully, for their sake, Elston can play some minutes because Lord knows they're going to use that on Sunday.
And really, hopefully, for kind of humanity's sake, in the sense that, I mean, you got to root for Derek Elston. You know, it's if you got a heart at all, you know, you sort of want that kid to get a shot, at least to get out there again. But he's been struggling with it, and he gave us some insight on Monday night about his just kind of the setbacks. You know, they haven't just been holding him out just to hold him out. He's been, you know, going forward and falling back, going forward and falling back. That's how it goes with knees. But Hana Perea had a big block tonight, too. That was pretty freakish and ridiculous, and the stuff you see from Hana every once in a while. So
you see the flashes.
Yeah, you do. You don't see the skill yet at all. You don't see the offensive game. You see this sort of lost look at on occasion, but then every once in a while you see that wingspan and that leaping ability, and it's just nuts. Anyway, that's all we got. Michigan State on Sunday. That's a really, really big one. We'll have lots of coverage before then. Thanks, guys.